Welcome to the 2019 Marshfield Professional Police Association and Marshfield Police Department's honoring of Peace Officer Memorial Day. My name is Julie Lou Martinic, and I'm an officer with the Marshfield Police Department. Before beginning tonight's program, I would like to welcome everyone in attendance, specifically the current and retired members of the Marshfield Police Department and surrounding agencies, family and friends of the Marshfield Police Department, Mayor Bob McManus, police and fire commissioners, and common council members. We will begin this evening's ceremony with a prayer led by Marshfield Police Department Chaplain, Pastor Jeffrey Peckham.
If you would pray with me. Father, we look to heaven today as we ask for your presence and blessings upon this memorial service. We ask that your hand would be stayed over us to provide protection, safety, and provision for all that are here. Father, we pray that you would touch every heart, be upon every mind as we remember and honor the fallen. We pray that you would comfort those who have sacrificed and suffered loss so that we could enjoy a greater peace and a safer community. Father, as the sun shines upon us and offers light and warmth, I pray that your light would do the same for those who look to you. We pray that your mercy and grace continues to be a beacon of hope. We offer our thanks and praise today in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen. The Gospel of John 15:13 reads, "Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends." As a family member of this community, I want all of our officers to know we are your friends and you are ours.
Thank you, Pastor. At this time, I would like to invite Mayor Bob McManus to present today's proclamation.
Thank you very much. It's very nice to see so many people from the community here, see the firefighters here, our auxiliary that does such a great job, and of course we're here to honor our police officers. And in a minute I'm going to give the proclamation. I promise I'm not going to do the whereas, foras, and all that stuff. But I just want to take a second to thank our police officers. And of course, there are other heroes as well. For all of the spouses that are here of our police officers, spouses, children, grandmas, grandpas, parents, aunts and uncles, thank you. We know that you're involved in this too. And we from the city are so proud of our police officers. As the rest of us run away from harm, they run in. And they make us all extraordinarily proud. Rick Ramsa, the police chief, has told me on several occasions how proud he is of the entire department. And I must say that we share that. So with the proclamation, I would just like to say that on behalf of myself, Mayor of the City of Marshfield, your common council members, many of the police and fire commissioners, and of course all the citizens that are in Marshfield, to all the men and women behind that badge, you are our heroes. Thank you so very much for what you do in keeping us safe. So, Julie, here you go. There's the proclamation from the City of Marshfield. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Our department appreciates your continued support. Before introducing our next speaker, I'd like to take this time to give my own reflection. It was 12 years ago that my sister and I stood at this podium and shared our experiences about growing up in a law enforcement family. At that time, I was a junior in high school and had the hope of having a career in law enforcement, just like my father. Today, I am 6 years into my career as a police officer, and my husband and I just welcomed our own daughter into the world 4 months ago. Looking back on my childhood and adolescent years, I certainly knew the potential dangers of my father's job. My dad was very honest with my sister and me about how life was just different for our families, from our family compared to others. how we would lose some of our closest friends simply because they no longer liked or respected law enforcement, why our dad had to sit facing the door at every restaurant we went to, and why he carried a firearm off duty. I think in general, people in Marshfield would probably say it's a relatively safe community. I will admit that although I was aware that police officers were killed in the line of duty, I was perhaps a little naive thinking that it would not happen in Wisconsin, let alone in my hometown. In 2011, I had a reality check. While attending college at UW Oshkosh and working as a community service officer for the Oshkosh Police Department, Fond du Lac police officer Craig Burkholz was shot and killed in the line of duty. It was then, at 20 years old, I attended my first of many law enforcement funerals. Then, in 2015, Wisconsin State Trooper Trevor Casper was shot and killed. He was 23 years old, just 1 year younger than me at that time, with that day being his first solo tour of duty. The death of Everest Metro Detective Jason Weiland in 2017 is then what hit closest to home for me, and probably most of the members of our department. Now it seems that almost every day there is another story from somewhere in the United States of yet another officer killed in the line of duty. Just yesterday there was a shooting in Appleton where an officer was shot and a firefighter was shot and killed. As I look at my daughter, I think about how I will show and explain what this profession means as she grows. How do I tell her that bad people do exist, that might want to hurt or kill her mommy because I'm a police officer? Or why I chose a career with a likelihood that I may not make it home on a given night. The same career her grandfather chose. Despite these harsh realities, I hope my daughter will be able to see all the good that I saw in my father's career. The brotherhood, the camaraderie, and the lifelong bond among many of the officers. She will learn that she has a second family within the police department. That the people her mother works with aren't just coworkers, but brothers and sisters. She will see that even in retirement, after working together for 30 plus years, a group of officers still get together once a week for coffee. She will know the thin blue line and the sacrifice that police officers have made. I know that if there ever comes a day where one of us do not make it home safely, my daughter and each and one of our children and family members will be supported by this law enforcement family and will forever be protected by the thin blue line. My connection to our next guest speaker exemplifies the term law enforcement family. It seems like just yesterday, I was babysitting this little boy at the police department shooting range while our dads trained together. Now I serve alongside his father, Lead Officer Jared Beauchamp, and that little boy is now a junior in high school himself. I'm pleased to introduce Braden Beauchamp.
Good evening. My name is Braden Beauchamp, and my dad has been a Marshfield police officer since 1998, and in law enforcement since 1995. So I'm going to be honest, I never thought I would be one of these people up on the podium talking about my life as a cop son, but I think it's time to come tell my story. Ever since I was young, I've always thought my dad's job was cool. Back then, I never really thought about what he was really doing. Instead, I just knew he was going to go and catch some bad guys, and I get to hear all about it when he got home. It never really occurred to me that he was risking his life every day for people who don't appreciate what he does for them by helping people and keeping them safe every single day he's on duty, even those who take his job for granted. I was able to see what that looks like with my first ride-along. My first time going on a ride-along was a moment that I'll never forget, especially after the only arrest that we made that night. This guy that my dad arrested was drunk and annoying people at our local Quick Trip. The drunk guy was acting tough and got up in all the officers' faces, so they arrested him for not complying with what they had asked. The guy sure acted pretty tough behind a cage in the back of a squad car, but softened right up if anybody asked him to repeat what he was saying. When we got to the station that night, all of the other officers were jokingly telling me to go beat up that guy, make your dad proud, which of course, I never ended up doing. Moments like that are what make me appreciate all that my dad does for his job, and it showed me what kind of people he has to deal with on a regular basis. As a police officer, my dad has been a counselor, a plumber, a parent, a teacher, a mechanic, a listener, a problem solver, a decision maker, a peacekeeper, and of course, a Sasquatch hunter. He was recently a swimmer when he had to save a dog from drowning in a detention basin full of duck poop and muck in front of an entire daycare that was watching. He jumped in his uniform, including his boots, and swam around chasing the dog, who kept swimming away from him, until he caught it and was able to pull it out of the water to shore. I don't think the dog was very happy, as he never caught the ducks he was after, but his owner was happy to have him back, as he was on the verge of exhaustion and drowning, and probably wouldn't be able to swim much longer. As a cops kid, I spent a lot of holidays, family functions, weddings, graduations, church, school programs, sports, and other important events in my life without my dad. Growing up, it was oftentimes just my mom, my brother Dane, and I attending these things together and everyone else saying, "Oh, your dad must be working again." While we were attending these events and having fun, he would be on a traffic stop, or talking somebody out of suicide, or going to a domestic call, or a break-in, or a drug overdose, or welfare check, only to find the person deceased. It's not all just stops at Weiler's for coffee and donuts. Police officers truly see the worst in life, and a lot of times it's on those holidays or during special events in life where others are celebrating and obviously unaware of what goes on in our small city. Police officers selflessly sacrifice a lot for their careers, including anything from family time to weekends to holidays to quality time to sleep, quality sleep, and their health in general. Throughout my life, there have been many different officers who worked with my dad and who I've looked up to admire. Two of those people are Scott Schley and Steve Liu. Scott's always been a part of my memory for as long as I can remember. I thought what he did when he was one of the canine officers was super cool. Scott has since moved on from Marshfield the Police Department and continues to be an inspiration to me because of his drive to not give up on a job that he loves. Scott joined the City of Adams Police Department and eventually rose through the ranks to become chief. This is a feat that not many people have the will and drive to accomplish, but as it turns out, nothing's impossible with time, patience, and perseverance. I will never forget the things that Scott has done that have impacted my life and the life of the other officers that he's worked with. The other person I want to mention is Steve Liu. Now, he's also been a big part of my life. Tough on the exterior, but the most caring on the inside and the most giving person you'll meet. When I was younger, my family and I would go up to his cabin and out on his boat. His daughter Julie would always ask me, "Where's the beef?" Just to get me to say it because, well, I guess it's funny when a kid runs around asking everyone, "Where's the beef?" Anyway, Steve is a close family friend that I've known as far back as my brain can remember. He was a part of the police department for a really long time, and no, that wasn't a jab at him for being old. It's just that after he retired not that long ago, his daughter Julie decided to take on the mantle of the next Lou to be an officer in Marshfield. Many of my dad's co-workers are like family to me. In fact, some of them were the best babysitters I've had, including Officer Lou, Officer Barris, and Officer Fox. During elementary school, anyone who found out my dad was a police officer thought he had the coolest job in the world. They would ask me questions about what he does while working and what it's like to be a cop's kid. This, however, became very different going to my middle school and high school years. You learn early on that people change as they get older when you start middle school and high school. People tend to start hating police officers because of past family getting arrested or because of the legal activities they get involved in. Now, I'll get the occasional cop joke from friends, but there are definitely people in school that didn't like me simply because my dad is a police officer. None of these people really bothered me. You can't be friends with everyone. But the shift into high school never swayed my opinion on my dad's career. It did, however, open my eyes to what could really happen when my dad puts on his uniform. The hatred for police, as I'm sure everyone here knows about, has gotten greater and greater throughout the years. This has resulted in more police fatalities on duty simply because people don't like them for one reason or another. Every day that my dad works, I always have a little worry that something might happen to him and he won't come home that day. In this terrifying world we live in, people view police as corrupt and cruel, when in reality, it's the truly few corrupt police officers that ruin the lives of the majority of the police officers and their families. Anyway, getting past all of the deep and convoluted stuff, being a cop's kid doesn't come without some disadvantages. One of those disadvantages is not being able to lie or get away with lying. Now, I'm not saying that I lie about anything ever, but if I'm not telling the whole truth about anything, my dad can always see through it. I don't know how he does it, but it could just get a little annoying sometimes. Now, I don't always get along with my dad. I mean, somehow we tend to butt heads and argue over the simplest of things, like any father and son with strong personalities. But through the arguing and the time that I get angry at him, I've never lost my respect for him or for what he does to make my life the best it can be. He can be a grumpy bear sometimes, just wanting to get some food and go back to his bed for his long winter's nap. But he's always been there for me, and I'll always be proud and grateful that I can call him my dad. I would like to thank Officer Julie Liu for giving me this opportunity to speak tonight. My dad, who will always be my hero, and all the officers who put their lives on the line every single day, and those who have made the ultimate sacrifice to keep their communities safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Braden. And now for the presentation of this year's departmental awards, Chief Rick Ramsey.
I didn't think I would need my tablet until I realized that the papers I had printed off were missing a couple. So yeah, I'm glad I brought this evening. But thank you for coming this evening. Before we begin the department awards, I wanted to recognize two retirements that we had in 2018. Neither one were able to make it tonight, but still both worthy of recognition. Dave Mathiasen retired on January 2nd after 27 years of service to the Marshfield Police Department and to the City of Marshfield. Dave held many positions, including field training officer, SWAT member, SWAT team leader, firearms and vehicle contacts, vehicle safety instructor, and a host of other trainings that he performed at local technical colleges as an adjunct instructor. Dan Leonard retired on May 30th of 2018. He was our ordinance officer for 28 years for the City of Marshfield. I often tease that Dan had one speed, and that was keep up, and few people could actually keep up with him. Like I said, neither could be in attendance this evening, but I believe both are deserving of a good round of applause. You may hear the next three people mention that they haven't done anything special or anything that anyone else would not have done. But they did it, and they did it naturally without even thinking, and they will do it again day in and day out. These people and every single employee like them is what it takes to make our department special, a leader among organizations, which many other organizations would like to imitate. The first award we're going to give is the Support Staff Member of the Year. The Support Staff Member of the Year celebrates a police department member, non-sworn, who has worked towards improving operations within the police department or enhancing the quality of life within the community. This member consistently exceeds expectations and lives out our core values daily. Recipients of this award could be from our records or administrative support staff, an auxiliary member, Park Patrol, humane officer, transport officer, crossing guard, chaplain, or any other non-sworn member of the police department. If Seth Stankowski could come up here. Seth attended our Citizens Academy early in 2014 and later joined the Police Department Auxiliary in October of 2014. Seth has displayed a strong commitment to the auxiliary program and was elected as the auxiliary director in 2017. As of this date, Seth has donated approximately 631 hours of his time to help the citizens of Marshfield, which does not include managing and preparing for the various events, trainings, and meetings he has assumed the responsibility for. Seth was awarded the Auxiliary Member of the Year in 2017 based on the voting of the full auxiliary membership. Seth's desire to give more, so in 2016 he applied for and was hired as a Park Patrol officer. Park Patrol dedicates nights in the summer and fall patrolling our various parks to ensure that they are safe and secure. Seth desired to do more besides this, and in 2016 he also joined the police department as a transport officer. This involves coming in to transport subjects to Wood, Marathon, Clark County jails, sometimes at the last minute, often during undesirable hours and undesirable weather conditions. Seth has worked 531 hours between Park Patrol and transports. Seth is a numbers guy, and through tracking his own mileage, recently stated that he had driven approximately 5,390 miles for the police department in 2018 alone, and 7,253 miles for the police department in 2017. As an example, Seth came in at 1 a.m. on New Year's Eve one year to take an intoxicated person to jail. He was willing to clean up what was formerly described as pizza from the back seat of the squad. And when the jail ran out of cleaning supplies, he bravely drove back with the windows merely cracked in cold weather to finish the cleaning job at the police department. This is a true definition of above and beyond. Seth does all of this while working full-time in a job that causes him to travel across the country for business. Being in Florida or Colorado doesn't seem to slow him as he continues to read and respond to emails, plan events while out of state. Seth is able to do all of this in no small part due to the support of his wife, Rachel, and their 7-year-old daughter, Morgan. Thank you, Rachel and Morgan, for loaning your husband and dad to us when we are in need. Seth was once asked if he would consider a career in law enforcement. Seth paused, smiled, and stated that he would, but he didn't want to take a pay cut. Seth's dedication is generated out of his selfless desire rather than a need. And this is why Seth Stankowski was selected as Marshfield Police Department Support Staff Member of the Year. Thank you. Officer of the Year is an award for outstanding achievement by an officer that brings credit to the department, which involves performance above and beyond, and which is required by more than an officer's basic assignment. If Libby Abel could come up. Officer Libby Abel has impressed many since the day she began employment with us in 2014. She is willing to help and willing to jump in and lighten the load of her peers. She desires to be the best she can be for the men and women she works with, for the community, for the citizens and visitors who may rely upon this organization. In 2018, Libby made 66 drug arrests, which is the most in our department, and actually the most by any officer within our county. In 2018, she also had 22 intoxicated driver arrests, which is again the most in the county by an officer, despite some of these officers working strictly nights. But it's not all about numbers. Libby has a reputation with those who choose to commit crimes as an aggressive officer who digs deep to find truth while treating those she encounters with dignity and respect. Libby is a dedicated employee. She picks up overtime when other shifts are short or when extra officers are needed. In 2018, during her time off and some of those least desirable hours, she came in to give time to the community, over 270 hours of overtime. Libby is frequently the last one to leave at the end of her shift as she is focused on completing her work, securing evidence, finishing reports, and selflessly staying to help others who are in need. Libby is humble and often attributes her skills to just being lucky. Although luck plays a minor factor for all of us throughout the career, the cases that she is able to resolve are a byproduct of her aptitude, perseverance, and her desire to educate the community through enforcement efforts. Libby is an educator as well. She is currently a less lethal instructor. As many of you know, we have had many opportunities to diffuse life-threatening situations within our city, and this is attributed to many within the department, including Libby, who train us. She is recently appointed to a firearms instructor, and we anticipate the department benefiting from her teaching methods. Libby is often the go-to person when it comes to search and seizure laws, patrol-related drug investigations, and drafting of search warrants. Libby has been a member of our SWAT team since December of 2015. She is the first female SWAT entry member in the central Wisconsin region, and there's only a few of them in the state of Wisconsin. Libby was 20 years old when we hired her, and she was actually my first hire as police chief. We believe that she has a lot to offer younger people in our community. This year, she began serving the youth in the community as an official mentor for the Pathway Partners program at the senior high. One of our goals is to educate and encourage our youth to consider law enforcement as a career, and Libby is a great role model for our profession. One doesn't do great things to become a role model. They become a role model by doing great things. She goes above and beyond in many ways, continually modeling exemplary member of the department. She has demonstrated how hard work, dedication, and determination can pay dividends when one is vigilantly pursuing their dreams, and all of this has led to Libby Abel being recognized as the Marshfield Police Department Officer of the Year. One more, and then I'll stop. The Fred Beal Honors Award is an award for acts of bravery of the highest, which may subject a member to high risk of serious injury. To be eligible for this award, the member must have exhibited sound judgment through an incident and demonstrated the true meaning of service to others over self. Would Travis Esser please come up? On July 20th of 2018, at approximately 1:41 in the afternoon, officers were dispatched to 204 North Spruce Avenue in the city of Marshfield. Crisis intervention workers had contacted our dispatch center stating that they are currently out at a residence with probation and parole. Dispatch informed responding officers that the subject in question had displayed a knife towards a mental health worker and the probation officer while they're at the residence speaking with him. He had stated, "I'm not going down without a fight," as he grabbed the knife and chased the individuals out of the house. Dispatch learned that there was separation between the individuals and the suspect, but not before he threw the knife at the individuals when they ran to their car. Lieutenant Travis Esser and Assistant Chief Pat Zepps responded to the scene with other officers. They gathered information from both the workers who were still in the area, and they positioned their squad at the end of the street just down from the residence. Lieutenant Esser observed the subject exit the residence and noticed he was holding a large knife in his hand about 8 inches in length. At the time, the officers moved the squad further down the road to create more distance for themselves and the subject. Subject continued to walk out of the residence and noticed Officer Mitchell and Officer Endries had arrived on the opposite side of the block. He stopped, observed them for a short period of time, then continued to walk south towards Esser and Zepps. At this time, Esser retrieved a less lethal beanbag 12-gauge shotgun from the back of the squad, while Zepps began communicating with the subject. They both had positioned themselves on the passenger side of the squad with the door open, Zepps supplying lethal cover. Esser continued to give verbal commands as the subject continued to walk to them and refused to drop the knife. Realizing that he was quickly closing the distance, Esser fired a first beanbag round, striking the subject in the upper leg, but the subject continued to walk towards them. Esser again gave verbal commands for him to stop with no success. He fired a second beanbag, which hit him in the opposite leg, but he continued to advance. Esser fired a third and final beanbag round, which struck the male in the abdomen, causing him to change his direction, travel away from the officers and towards the residence. Esser saw an opportunity to end the situation and called for Canine Officer Terry Endries' dog to be released, Canine H. At this time, Canine H was deployed and successfully took the subject into custody. The knife was secured and the subject was minimally injured. Subject informed officers that at the time of the incident, he didn't care if the officers had shot him due to his past mental health experiences and issues, and did not want to live anymore. This team of officers did a fantastic job of handling this call safely. Here is a situation where deadly force would have been justified. However, Lieutenant Esser recognized that there was appropriate staff on site to deploy less lethal options with lethal cover, which was successful. Their decision led to the safe resolution for all involved, including without having to use deadly force, when other officers nationwide may have taken that route if they were not equipped or trained to do so. All officers involved continually displayed sound judgment and leadership within their respective roles in this incident. They set a great example for other officers to follow, and they are the prime example of why our community has such great respect for this department. When faced with the challenges and opportunities to stop the threat which was advancing upon him and others, Lieutenant Travis Esser did so without hesitation by successfully de-escalating the situation using less lethal force. He did so while simultaneously protecting the lives of other officers involved, neighbors nearby, and the subject himself. For these reasons, Lieutenant Travis Esser was nominated and unanimously selected for the 2019 Fred Beal Honors Award.
Since the cat got out of the bag yesterday, I guess I'm expected to probably have something to say. Chief Graham just said it was a true team effort, and Assistant Chief Zepps is sneaking away, but he was very instrumental in that call that day. I don't remember the reason why I forced him in my squad, but I probably wanted to swindle some budget money out of him for something or something like that. But I was lucky to have him with me because he did all of the communicating and gave us the opportunity to have time to actually go the route that we did. And Officer Endries and Officer Mitchell did awesome as well. They recognized that there could have been a crossfire situation. They put themselves to a tactical advantage and got set up perfectly so that we could use the K-9. So true team effort, so thank you very much. But those guys are just as deserving, so appreciate it.
I now present the Marshfield Professional Police Association Honor Guard. In 2018, 163 police officers died in the line of duty in the United States. These officers' time in service ranged from 7 days to 41 years on the job. 52 of those officers were killed by gunfire. Of the slain officers, 2 were from Wisconsin. Police officer Charles Irvine Jr. of the Milwaukee Police Department was killed in a single vehicle crash on June 7, 2018. He was in pursuit of a vehicle when his patrol car left the roadway and collided with the support wall of an overpass. Officer Irvine was 23 years old, a 2-year veteran of the Milwaukee Police Department, and is survived by his mother, stepfather, sister, girlfriend, and grandparents. Police Officer Michael John Mahalski, also of the Milwaukee Police Department, was shot and killed on July 25, 2018, while attempting to apprehend a wanted subject. Officer Mahalski was 52 years old, a 17-year veteran of the Milwaukee Police Department, and is survived by his wife and 3 children. And we will never forget the sacrifice Officer Fred A. Beal made for the City of Marshfield on August 5, 1933, when Beal was shot and killed while responding to a burglary call at the Marshfield Brewery. We now honor Officer Charles Irvine Jr., Officer Michael John Mahalski, and Officer Fred A. Beal.
Honor guard, attention! Forward, arms. Left, face. Ready. 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 Right, face. Present, arms.
In conclusion, I would like to thank you all for attending tonight and for your continued support of the Marshfield Police Department. I would like to again thank Pastor Jeffrey Peckham, Mayor Bob McManus, and Braden Beauchamp. I would also like to thank Chief Rick Gramza, Detective Al Nenist, and especially Lieutenant Dennis Keffer for their work in organizing this event. And a huge thank you to Shirley Mook, Kathy Shepler, Rachel Durfus, and Cindy Dischinger for again donating their time as well as their ongoing support of our department. But may we always remember the true meaning of this week and let us never forget the officers who have made the ultimate sacrifice. Thank you again.